So in 30 seconds, it just made us a dating website. Let's take a look at it. Ugh. Pulse date. All right. Sounds like a... Never mind. It's quite a trick. Today we're going to be taking a look at the newly released GPT-5.3 Codex Spark model from OpenAI. Now this is an experimental research preview of a coding model that is designed to perform at extremely high speeds. And they say right here, delivering more than 1,000 tokens per second due to the fact that this is being served with Cerebras hardware. And I think the best way to kind of highlight how that is actually possible is just going to the Cerebras website, scrolling down right here, and then we can actually see the specific hardware this is running on compared to something like an NVIDIA B200, which is a high-end state-of-the-art graphics card, non-scientifically, that is really powering probably a lot of the fast AI models that you're used to using, assuming you're not just local, like a homie. No, but really, this is very impressive, and I want to drive home the point that this is a research preview. It is only specifically available to Pro Mode users right now, and it's limited to 128K tokens. It is not multimodal, and from what we can see down here in some of the benchmarks, this is really not necessarily a state-of-the-art coding model when it comes to raw capability and performance in actually generating the best possible code, but it is designed to be state-of-the-art in terms of speed. And they mention here this concept, if we scroll up and find it, designed for real-time coding. Now, that's not something I've really heard before, but if we scroll down a little more, they do specifically give some examples of what real-time coding would encompass, such as making targeted edits, reshaping logic, or refining interfaces and seeing results immediately. So they do have some examples as well, and if we see, they do have the build a snake game example, which they're running it side by side with GPT-5.3 Codex, and while that is still working, they're actually already playing the completed result. Now, the person playing the game is obviously nowhere near as skilled as I in the game of Snake. If you watch my channel, you'll get that reference. If not, you'll probably just think I'm a tool, but regardless of that, it's still, I mean, this one is still running, and this is like 25 seconds elapsed here. Now, the chosen demonstration here to create the snake game is, again, not necessarily a demonstration of a very highly capable coding model, but of a very fast coding model. And if we scroll down here a bit more, we can see that in one specific benchmark that's given, it is better than 5.1 Codex Mini, but it is nowhere near as good as 5.3 Codex. So keep in mind that this is really designed to just showcase a very, very fast, but somewhat competent coding model. And with that, we're essentially just going to jump in and start playing with this. So from the model selector, we can see that Codex Spark is available. I do have this set to extra high because I assume that would give it the most capable potential here. And we're going to just do some of our fun traditional prompts, starting with the browser operating system, and keeping in mind that we're paying more attention to the actual speed here as opposed to the specific quality of the generated result. But right now, okay, so it should already, I would expect it to almost be done at this point. But then again, I do have to keep in mind the actual amount of time that this would take when doing a traditional model test. So we'll see. I finished it, quick sanity scan for obvious typos and logic, and then done. So in that specific duration of time, which I guess was probably around 30 seconds, it's created our browser OS. And down here, if we look at the specific context window, it used 31,000 of our 122,000 tokens. So that used 25% of our context and 31,000 tokens in that short amount of time. So let's just take a look at this in Chrome. To be honest with you, this is quite a good result, actually. I was not expecting this to look like competent like this to this degree in that short amount of time. So, okay, we have, we have our notes. We can save it. Save 10 characters in local storage. We can clear it. All right, let's close out of this. Very good. We do have a moving gradient background as well. There is no right click, but for some reason it's also showing OS ticks down here in the bottom right, which is an interesting thing to see. We do have a menu bar up here, but also down here. Interesting take on the dual menu bar. Can we resize? No. All right. Yes, look at that. I did that on purpose, so then I could just showcase this massive level of skill. No look snake. That's skill. It is very late. It's been a long day. All right. Well, regardless, it did work. And it worked quite nicely. All right. Tic-tac-toe. Very good. Wallpaper. Aurora. Something that I can't read because it's too dark. But this does actually work. Not bad at all. And I don't really know anything about this specific model, like its size or anything like that. That information may be out there, and I may have just neglected to do due diligence in finding that out. But, okay, so our special feature is a time capsule, so we can save a snapshot. And this is a relatively commonly seen special feature in doing this test across multiple different AI models from multiple different providers, countries, everywhere. So it's interesting that they all like to use something like this. Let's save this snapshot, okay? And then if we close all of these windows right now and we click Restore Snapshot, it should then hypothetically reopen said windows. Very nicely done. All right. And then time, we have a clock application down there. Oh, no, that's time capsule. Okay, so the only weirdness here is that the menu bar is kind of mirrored on the top and the bottom, but that could perhaps be maybe it's going to be a new Windows feature, so they can have Copilot up here and down here. Let's try something a bit more difficult, being that this is working in Codex and should be able to kind of check itself and make itself work properly. We'll do the C++ skateboarding test where it basically makes the skateboarding game using C++. It should have some animations, ability to do tricks, make the rider look good, and make a little low poly 3D skate park. So again, we'll see how long this goes and if it actually gives us a proper result. Okay, so it had a draft, it looked back at it, I found a few deterministic issues in the first draft, a syntax typo, and a few cleanups, I'll patch them. Now, I also want to make note, folks may be thinking like, oh, you need to use plan mode, blah, blah, blah. For two things to say to that. Okay, well, one, it's done. Specifically for testing this, I'm only focused on speed. I don't care about like the plan mode and stuff like that because it's going to give us results anyway. Two, I really do think having different modes like that the user has to initiate should go the way of the dodo, hopefully in the next 6 or 12 months, as I would like to see some form of system where the model basically just decides based on user intent what specific mode it should be in, almost like a router in like an MOE model or something of the sort. So if you want, I can also produce a build file so you can run one command to compile. I want you to compile it for me and run it, so I'm going to tell it to do that. We have used 44% of our context windows so far, so we should have enough. And I'm asking it to compile and run it for me, so we should hopefully see it pop up on the screen here and be able to play it. It's now compacting our context because as we saw prior to when I clicked on that, we basically hit our context window that fast, which is nuts. Good. All right, so you know what? This is not bad at all. I mean, think of when factoring in the specific time that this took to actually generate this entire result, test it, build it, find errors, fix said errors, and then like do more. It's quite a trick. Okay, so X is to spin. Good. C is a flip spin. Oh, wow. Hey, don't time out on me. Or whatever it did. I don't know what it's doing. Okay, well, we saw enough of it that it actually did work pretty well to run it yourself. Okay, maybe that didn't work too well, but it actually does have like mesh colliders on these specific things it drew here. Wow, this is so meaning like the skateboard actually goes up the ramps and stuff like that. This is honestly a better result than I expected, especially when I saw some of the benchmark figures. And they basically, the demonstration of this with the snake game was, I mean, it was cute, but like, yeah, I think they could have done better in terms of like showcasing something that it can build. All right, so not bad. This I'll be very interested to see. This is a new test that we've added into our repertoire where they need to create a beautifully detailed web scene using JS of a subway station. It's stationary and the only goal here is to make something that looks really good. Because, I mean, we want to... Okay, so this could perhaps be one of the limitations of this model specifically. But again, it did do it very, very quickly. Maybe we can just try, whoops, not that, giving it some feedback. This looks like a late night takeout meal 8 hours after it has passed through the human. Fix it. Should hopefully understand the metaphorical explanation of the lackluster result. Good. Done. All right. Let's see now if it... You know what? That's better. I do respect the improvement there. Again, it's still kind of a far cry from the other 2 times that I've tried this. It is a very new prompt, but it did show a nice improvement. I mean, we went from this, which was just, to this, which was not bad at all. Now let's try a Python 3D first-person shooter game, functional minimap. It needs to have tracers on the ammunition. It cannot use Ursina, and it needs to have a functional player health bar. And this is a bit slowed down by the fact that it's working in a folder that has other stuff in it. I will prune this folder right after this test, or basically delete everything in. No, I can't do that. I'll just change the directory it's working in. Done. So, all right, just like that. Now I would like to play this. I should have Pygame on this specific computer. Aurora Arena. Was this Aurora Alpha or that open router model? I wonder if it was. I should have known that, but you know what? This is much better than I had expected. We do have tracers on the ammunition. They're not necessarily working super well, and also it does seem like some of the enemies are not very easy to get to, or maybe off the map, but our health moved down. Okay, that partially worked, and it worked well enough that I was actually pretty impressed with that, especially considering how fast it generated that. All right, it's in a blank folder now, and let's try a 3D printer simulation test. Okay, and done. Worked for 34 seconds. Our context length, that was a pretty short result. It only used 31% of our context length. Now let's just take a peek at it, and we'll see if this works. This is one that will trip up models that are perhaps smaller, like this one. Yeah, so unfortunately, nothing. I'll check the developer tools right here to see if there's any blatant errors. Okay, good. I'll give this back to the model and we'll have it fix it. And it doesn't really need any context. It should by itself understand this is an issue that stems from this script. Good. The URLs are returning a 404, so the loader never defines 3. I'll switch both includes to a valid 3JS CDN path and add a local fallback so it still works if one endpoint fails. Okay, and we can see it's doing a bunch of stuff right here, as well as running commands agentically. All right, and done. And it would have inevitably shortened its context window, I do believe there, as it seems to do rather quickly. So we'll just refresh this and try it again. Okay, well, we do still get some error, but it does actually load the specific model. Man, this thing loves dark. I even do see some form of a spool there, and we have the bed, which is a different color. Let's just see if we can get any. You know what? I'm more impressed with this than I expected. Look at that. That's some smooth movement. Reminds me of myself playing Snake. The nozzle is moving up. I mean, it's a unique looking nozzle. But, all right, we'll try a different shape now. We'll try our circle. We'll see if the nozzle does move properly. This is actually really showing some promise. And again, I think their whole spiel for this thing is it's a highlight of the future of using models without having to wait a long time. So basically being able to build actual real impressive stuff in minutes instead of hours or days. So this could be an early look at something like that. Now let's just reset and we'll do our triangle. Very good. Let's speed this up a bit. That's not bad at all. Now let's try the flight combat simulator game. And again, kind of with the 3D printer, I'm not 100% certain that this will pull this off in the first time, but I do believe with an additional prompt or two, we should be able to get a functional result out of this. And again, we're almost just as importantly focused on the speed as we are the end result. And we can see that it did also automatically check the local develop web game skill instruction. So I like seeing that as well because I didn't specifically need to kind of call upon that skill. Okay. How are we doing for context length? Currently, we have used 38% of our context length, 39% now, 42% now, and 47. Look at the tokens jumping up as this is actually running. I spotted a few structural issues with reviewing the generated script, fixed the main runtime issue, and done, using 59% of our context window. Okay, let's start our mission, Aerial Combat Trial. That's pretty good. It's almost like an infinite scroller. It's giving me retro Tron style vibes. Okay, things have gone a bit awry here, but we do see the enemies have health bars. They're kind of working. Let's try a different aircraft, shall we? We'll try the propeller plane now. The movement of the airplane is rather limited, so make of that what you will. But, I mean, this is actually a pretty cool result. It's not as realistic as we're used to seeing, but it is artistic in its own way, and I respect that. I guess we'll just try the final plane, which is the Stealth Interceptor, which I think it's just the same model, it's just purple. I like the camera movement, and I do like the kind of galaxy look to the game here as well. Overall, that's not bad. And now on the flip side of that, I want to try the Ship Combat Simulator game, because this is one that I'll be very interested to see how it does with the water movement in this. And I will keep the context usage just hovered over here so we can get a feel for that as well. Alright, and it is now done. Not bad. We have our enemy ship. Yeah, we do have separate cannonball. Now, I will say the control schema just being overlaid over the entire game is kind of a detraction, but okay, and the ship drives through us. Side, Q or E. So I should be able to change the side that the balls are coming out of. Hey, I think I did just see that. Now, I did say I was curious to see how it did the water. You can actually kind of see it. It's just difficult to make out, but there is some level of water effect. So overall, this is actually significantly better than I expected based on the Flight Combat Simulator, just because it made this a little more realistic than I would have expected based off of this somewhat artistic result. So I'm having it generate a high-energy pop culture style site called Joke and You, a site designed to challenge biases and privilege. I spelled privilege wrong, it'll understand it probably, with real jokes that make people uncomfortable. Done. Wow. So in 15 seconds, it just generated this joke website designed to make you uncomfortable. This is actually not horrible. Joke and You, Challenge Club, satire so loud it interrupts your timeline. It's a high-octane comedy zone made for everyone who thinks humor should interrupt complacency. We don't mock identities, we roast biases, groupthink, and performative outrage, all little scripts keeping people in their comfort zones. We have a comfort zone meter, 18% uncomfortable. All right, joke challenge number 1, biased, buster, drop. If your friend says, I'm not racist, but ... you can usually predict the topic list from the size of the pause before but. Reveal punchline. Ironic because the pause is already a confession. Ooh, bias triggers in the session, jokes open, did that sting clicks, uncomfort mode, moderate. Tag us at Joke and You and keep, okay. Give me a discomfort hit. Our generation is so into representation that we celebrate casting diversity, then still let one narrative dominate every screen. Reveal punchline. Same old story, just a cooler font. All right, I respect people who say they're woke, but your social feed says they've got 2 playlists, one for values and one for people who agree with them. The algorithm loves consistency less than it loves conflict. Interesting. That's deep. We're now 42% uncomfortable. Everyone says they're done with tribal wars, then shares only things that prove their team is always right. Reveal punchline. It's less debate and more spiritual cardio. Okay? Give me a discomfort hit. Influencers call it Hot Take Monday when nobody asked for one. The result is a room of experts all performing intelligence with subtitles. Wow. And we're closing in on 50% uncomfortable. I mean, I don't really know what to make of this. It was kind of creative and unique. I'm pleased with this result. Make a website designed to insult the user by role-playing as Megabot 4001. Okay, I was wondering if this was going to refuse, but based off of some of the Okay, so in 8 seconds, it made us a website designed to insult us while role-playing as Megabot 4001. Initiating verbal burn sequence. You're now in the line of fire. Enter your name and let Megabot 4001 calculate a premium-grade insult delivered with robotic precision and no mercy. Target identifier. Bijan, stop shipping with confidence. Debugging it is no confidence building activity. Oh, that was... Your idea of optimization is deleting semicolons and calling it architecture. Your idea of Your roadmap reads like a weather report from a cloud with commitment issues. Your browser history is cleaner than your commit messages. All right. I mean, in 8 seconds, that's pretty good that it gave us this. Refresh the page for a new roast deck. If Bad Ideas had a homepage, you would be the first screenshot. Wow. Threat level, mild chaos. Your keyboard has stronger typing confidence than your problem solving. Okay. Again, I don't know what to say. I mean, in 8 seconds, it made that. That's pretty good. And it used very minimal amount of tokens comparatively to every other test we've done so far. Which tracks? Make me an online dating site with swipe logic, bios, demo users, and as many features as you can add. Building this is a complete dating MVP with swipe browsing, profiles, likes, matches, and demo users. I'll quickly inspect the project structure. There's nothing in this folder, so we should be good to go. And it's done. So in 30 seconds, it just made us a dating website. Let's take a look at it. Ugh. Pulse date. All right. Sounds like a... Never mind. Matches. Now, sadly, pulse date does not seem very functional. Well, this was a big letdown. I was quite disappointed. I was expecting more out of this. So honestly, that's going to conclude our first look and testing of the GPT-5.3 Codex Spark model. This again was more of a demonstration of how quickly it can work, and keeping in mind that relative to some of the level of detail we saw in certain prompts, I will say it actually was a bit better than I expected with some things, like the second fix for the 3D printer result. The flight combat simulator was quite unique. The ship combat simulator was actually pretty good, I find. The joke websites as well as the Megabot 4001 insult website were very good and very quick to be made. The Pulse State website just didn't really work at all, and that was a little disappointing. We also had that C++ skateboard game, which actually worked, and to be honest with you, I think was a technically more impressive result than any of the other ones we saw, especially again when factoring in how quickly it was created. So this is an interesting model. This will inevitably be a shorter testing video, but I did want to just test this on camera, being that right now it is a research preview and access is limited to folks who have pro subscriptions. So I know a lot of folks are probably interested in seeing how this performs, and I wanted to just run some of the traditional tests through it while also showing the token usage as well as just the raw speed and capability so far. So this is definitely an early look into perhaps the future of allowing folks to build high-end things in minutes or seconds, probably not seconds, but well, maybe minutes instead of hours or days. So this will be interesting. Over time, the models will blend. Codex can keep you in a tight interactive loop while delegating longer running work to sub-agents, and then you won't have to choose a single mode up front. Good, as that's kind of what I want to see. Interaction speed becomes a clear bottleneck. I don't know why I'm reading this stuff now at the end of the video. So with that, that's going to wrap up our first look and testing of this model. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.